Okay, so I'm standing on One Tree Hill, which is a noticeable landmark. Anyone who's been to Somerset Levels will have seen it. It's a dome-shaped job with a single tree on top, believe it or not. And it's, I've been invited here for my Hesp Out West series by James Crowden, who's well known to lots of my readers because he's appeared in the series many times. Brilliant poet, writer, historian. I mean, it's the Ciderland writer of, the expert on cider. James, what are we doing here?
Well, down below is Burrow Hill Cider Farm. That's where I did my cider apprenticeship. In fact, I worked there for 12 seasons, making cider on the presses, but I also did quite a lot of their sheep shearing. And when you're a sheep shearer, you get quite thirsty. So the two things actually go together. And Kingsbury Episcopi I've got to know very well, and quite a few of its inhabitants, and there are, I think, 18 different orchard owners here. There are at least 2 or 3 different ciders made around here. Burrow Hill's the biggest by far, but we're just on this extraordinary morning. It's one of those misty mornings, and we're just above a sea of mist. In the distance we can just about see the Mendips. You can see the cider monument. There's the Langport Gap, the cider monument near Curry Rival.
It's like being in a sea, I suppose. Once upon a time, when the levels were flooded, you would have been a bit surrounded by sea here back then.
Well, yeah, this was a lookout point, and you could see when the Vikings were coming. They got into Langport. There's great stories, and there's one of the great places at Hambridge was where the Sea Sharp, as I call him, Cecil Sharp, started gathering folk songs. One of the earliest was the Wassail song, and that's one of the reasons we're here. Is because next Saturday there will be the Kingsbury Wassail, which is very well supported, and that's run by a chap called Tim Gray, and there's a lot of work being going on with even identifying old apples or the origins of some apples, and no doubt we'll talk about that later.
These are all things we're going to do on, because every now and again James invites me on days out, and they're always fantastically interesting, make great copy in the newspapers, and of course for me as a bloke, they're just a very fascinating day out, the sort of day out that most people couldn't enjoy unless they knew someone like James Crowden, who seems to know everyone. We're going to meet quite a few people, aren't we?
Yes, we're going to meet Tim Gray in a minute down at Mr McGrowther's orchard, which is where the wassail takes place. There's a very old tree there. This really is the heart of Somerset Ciderland in this area, and a lot of the varieties which people know came from within a few miles of here, like Dabonet, Porter's Perfection in East Lambrook, and there are quite a few others, Lambrook Pippin. And it's this depth of history which is fascinating. And then we will talk to Liz Kopaz, the great pomologist down there, and then we'll come back to Burrow Hill and talk to Matilda, who is running the Somerset Cider Brandy Company, and they've got a new product which is fantastic. It's cider brandy matured, I think it's for 5 years, in oak barrels that are actually made from Somerset oak from Jamie Montgomery's farm. So there's a cheese cider link there.
Blimey.
That's pretty good. And also we're going to see a lady called Decca Lang, all about staying on the levels. Her family have been here many years. They used to make cider, Lang's cider, and it's where the eel smoker was. It's now the smokery. And then we go and see another man who's done a lot about booklets of walks and tons about the history online of Kingsbury Episcopi, the sort of time travels, a lot of fantastic videos of cider making, and then we end up, logically indeed it is, for we'll be in the pub, the Wyndham Arms, which is a very old pub run by a lady called Willow Reed, very aptly named. And that's your day, Martin.
It's quite a long day. We better get on with it, James.
Hi, I'm Matilda Temperley, and we're at the Somerset Cider Brandy Company in Kingsbury Episcopi.
A place which I've visited many times before to meet your father, who we're going to meet in a minute, apparently. That would be great to see Julian again. But you are going to tell me about some fabulous new product that you guys are making.
Yes, so we make our Somerset Cider Brandy and we age it for 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And we age it in oak. And mostly we use European oak, and that usually comes in from France. And we thought, why don't we try and use Somerset oak, which sounds obvious, but it's not that obvious, because we don't have oak plantations that are old enough in the UK to make barrels. The trees need to be around 130 years old. Turning a tree into a barrel is a complicated process because you need to quarter saw it, which is a specialist process. sawmills don't like to use park-grown oak or anything out of a plantation because of the risk of it having metal or some other thing in it. And then once you've quarter sawned it, you've found your few bits that will be good for barrels. You have to dry it out for 3 or 4 years, and then you have to find someone to turn it into a barrel. Now in England there was only one freelance cooper up in Yorkshire, so those barrels have to go to Yorkshire or else they have to go to Europe. The oak has to go to Europe to be turned into barrels. So we started the process of looking for oaks that are coming out for whatever reason, or they've fallen through storms, and we managed to find one over near Yeovil from Jamie Montgomery of Montgomery's Cheese in South Cadbury, and that was the first tree we got, and that we turned into 2 oak barrels over a long period.
So you found a local sawmill that would do the business and then put what was left on a lorry that goes to Yorkshire to the cooper.
Exactly. Well, the first oak barrel, actually there was no freelance coopers available at that moment in time. So those the oak then went to Jerez, got turned into barrels and came back. But subsequently there's this freelance cooperage who have made 4 new barrels for us.
Yeah.
So we have a very limited supply of Somerset oak casks, and the first one came of the right sort of age to bottle in the middle of 2025. So we bottled 1 cask.
Okay, you bottled 1 cask. It had been in the oak for
5 years.
5 years.
For 5 years.
Right, and you've tasted that, and is it a distinct flavour? Can you taste Somerset stamp through it?
It is really unusual. It's totally not what we expected. But what was more unusual is we had 2 barrels made from the same tree, filled with the same spirit on the same day, and both of those barrels were quite different in profile. And that's the nuances of using wood.
2 barrels from the same tree,
2 barrels
filled on the same day, and the liquid that's coming out 5 years later tastes quite different.
It tastes quite different. So one of the best of those barrels we bottled, and the other one we will think about, and it will move through its barrel trajectory like the other spirit does. So both barrels tasted really different. But what was strange and what we didn't expect was that there was lots of notes of lots of exotic notes. There was lots of coconut and almost sort of exotic fruits in there that was we need to taste it.
So for my readers who have no idea about any of this, what's amazing perhaps is that this liquid's sitting there in a barrel for 5 years, but the wood that the barrel is made of is affecting the flavour so much, noticeably so.
The spirit goes in to the barrel as a pure, clear apple eau de vie, so it comes out of our stills and it's a pure, crisp, amazing apple spirit. And what we're going for is just to have the fruit and the smells of the orchard come through, and that goes into the barrel, and it will change colour over the years. So all of the colour in a brandy will come from being sat in those barrels. Wow. So it will be all the tannins that the barrel leaches into the spirit. And as it sits in the barrel, first it will taste quite spirituous as it's just come off the still, but it will get softer and more mellow as the more volatile elements will evaporate through the barrel. So your spirit will actually lose alcohol.
So
20-year-old is sort of warm and it's got no spirity edge. It's delicate and soft. Whereas a younger spirit, a 3-year-old, will be a lot more fiery. Yeah.
So just last question on this then. So having now tasted, because it's a work of great patience, isn't it? You've got to wait 5 years before you even begin to have this first slurp. Having now tasted the first results, are you encouraged to find more oak trees? I mean, is it a road you want to go down?
We'll carry on looking for oak trees, and we've actually got we've planted our own oak wood, so we're continuing to plant oak trees every year.
Right.
Okay, my name is Julian Temperley. I'm part of Somerset Cider Brandy Company. We distill apples from Somerset and produce fine spirits. And gradually, the story we're trying to do is gaining ground. And our best restaurant is in London. It's called Core, and it has 3 Michelin stars, which is an honour shared by 6 other restaurants in England.
Yeah, you just told me something before I started recording. Did you just say you're in a third of the Michelin-starred restaurants?
The Michelin star people say we're in a third of the Michelin-starred restaurants.
In the UK?
Yeah.
Wow. When you started making cider apple brandy, did you imagine that could be part of the story?
No, but we were aiming at something which is nice to... in some ways it's exceeded our dreams, but we've still got a long way to go.
Can I, for my readers, I've been to see you many times and talked to you even more on the phone and lots of interviews for the paper, but can you remind our readers when you started making the cider brandy? What year did you first take a sip of your own apple cider brandy?
Well, we started distilling in the late 80s, 89 I think. We got final permission to have a distillery, which was a huge reversal of policy at the time. Then we've had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old and 10 years old. This year we have a 20 years old. The 20-year-old really justifies the whole project, but it's a long thing. And really it needs to be handed over to the next generation and the next generation before we finally come to fruition.
Am I right in saying that what you do is make some cider and then you distill that cider, or is that completely wrong?
We make cider and we distill the cider.
Yeah.
And we produce an eau de vie, which is a clear alcohol.
Yeah.
Then we age it for, in this case, for 20 years.
So, going back to the beginning, can I ask this? Will your eau de vie be altered in any way by the quality or the taste of the cider?
Yes.
So if you use a particular blend of apples versus another blend or a single variety, you can get different results.
We would get different results. I mean, we distill what we consider to be some of our best cider. That's important. I mean, we live in Kingsbury, which is essentially the centre of cider apple growing in England. Our apples are worth more than anybody else's. We produce some of the best cider in this village, and that's what we need to make the eau de vie, which in case that can then age for 20 years.
So the quality of the cider matters. You can't just think, oh, well, we've got a crappy old load of cider here. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll turn it into eau de vie because no one will know the difference. It's not like that.
No, it's not like that. And we have some of the best raw materials in the country, and we turn that into spirit, and then we age that for 20 years. And now, in our sort of business plan and the plan of production, we're going to have to include leaving barrels for 20 and 30 years. For a 20 years old bottle ended up at Sandringham, and we have a letter from the King for last Christmas to say that him and the Queen had a bottle which they consumed over Christmas, and they had a lovely Christmas. And thank you, well done.
Wow.
Now that might well have been it's signed by one of the King's equerries. That is what a bottle of 20 years old cider brandy gets.
Next we travelled just a mile down the road to an ancient orchard where several people were preparing the place for the annual wassail, and I managed to talk to a couple of them.
I'm Tim Gray from the Parrett Cider Company.
And Liz, we've met before.
Oh, well, yes, I'm Liz Copas, and what am I?
Pomologist.
I suppose that's it.
That's what we normally call you. And we've already met James in this recording. So we're in a fog-bound orchard in the freezing levels, and lovely it is too. Standing next to a wassail tree, and we've just been talking about the wassail. It happens in a couple of villages in Somerset.
Yeah, it's getting really popular again now, isn't it? Yeah.
Is that something, as a cider maker, I mean, you're quite keen to see that grow, I imagine?
Yeah, it gives you something to do on a cold evening, doesn't it, when there's nothing else to do.
We're standing next to a remarkable old tree that looks like it belongs in a Winnie the Pooh story with a big hole. It looks like Owl should be poking his head out. But why this tree? Who chose it? It's just because it's a lovely old tree.
Traditionally, it's always your oldest tree you wassail, but yeah, some people do young trees. I think as long as you're out wassailing, it's all good, isn't it?
And what variety of tree is this?
It's a Royal Jersey, which is apparently, we haven't got a lot of records on it, but it's an old Martok variety.
It is a good one because it was one that was on the list right early on in the Long Ashton vintage variety list that Prof Barker did, and it was one that was put down, and Royal always implies that it's got to be a bit better than the other red jerseys and things, so yeah, it's pretty good pedigree. I think.
Is it indeed a good cider apple?
Yeah, we've only ever used it in blending because we've only got this one tree. But yeah, well, obviously it was thought of really highly back in the day. So
in this village, is this Stembridge, or do we count it as Kingsbury Episcopi? Where are we?
It's the parish of Kingsbury, and Stembridge is a part of it.
By the way, do you say Episcopi or Episcopi?
Episcopi.
Right, okay. Just so, how long has this wassail been going on for centuries? Like the Drayton one and the Crampton one? Or is it?
No, we started it off when a guy called Cole moved back to Borough Hill, one of Julian's old friends. We met him in the pub and he said we ought to start doing wassails again, and that was probably about 10 years ago.
Right, and when did you start your cider company?
Probably about 10 or 15 years ago, just on the off and on.
Right.
And we're making more of a thing of it now.
Are you?
Yeah.
And you've got different single apple varieties? Do you go in for all that sort of thing?
Yeah, we like the singles because it tells a story of, was especially with interest with the local varieties from around here with Liz. It's trying to make a story of things.
Here. You've got the red jersey here.
Redworthy we've got here.
Oh, so I meant
Redworthy.
Redworthy, that's a really old one that's almost died out now. There's only, I think, 4 trees left from the 1930s.
And you managed to make a single variety out of those 4 trees?
Yeah,
wow.
We've done that.
Amazing.
And also propagate it and make sure it's being grown again.
So we're in the land of cider, aren't we? We've just been up on the top of the One Tree Hill, and even in the fog you can see some of the orchards. We're surrounded by orchards. So this orchard, I mean, there's some bungalows behind us. You were saying, like, this bit is owned by that bungalow and that bit's by...
It got split up recently, yeah.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
And it has a tradition, actually, because it was an orchard that was maintained and probably owned by John Stuckey, wasn't it? And he was a nurseryman in the area, and he produced quite a lot of trees. And he's the one who selected a lot of the varieties for Taunton cider when they started out.
Oh, really?
So
right.
Generally, everything commercially grown sort of comes from Stembridge, near enough.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. So we are in the epicentre of Somerset cider.
Where it all started.
That's your hobby, isn't it, really, Tim?
Yeah.
It's collecting these things together.
Yeah, we're trying to put together the Kingsbury Pomona at the moment, because I think I've got about 15 different varieties at home growing now from round here, and we keep adding to it.
And Pomona, that's a listing of apple types?
Yes, and a special list of the ones that might be in this particular area. A Pomona is something really which describes the apples, what they look like, what they taste like. It dates back right to, I don't know, sort of mid 19th century is when they started doing it, I think.
But do you think some of these apple varieties grown in an area like this go way back before that?
I'm sure they do. I mean, they go back to the history of when people started making cider, probably out of crab apples.
Tell me this, though. Do certain cider apple trees, do certain trees just do better in certain places because of the geological makeup of the soil or whatever? I mean, what gives us these different strains?
Well, partly I think it is things that have done well in that particular area. Therefore, if it didn't do well, it doesn't get used, and the ones that come on fine do, and people get used to that taste, and they like that particular flavour of cider, so they keep making it the same.
Yeah, so like, I mean, just off the top of my head, like Kingston Black, which is one of the better known cider apples that even people outside the...
it doesn't come from around here.
But... but doesn't it come from Kingston near Taunton?
Yes.
Which isn't very far away.
It's not Martok, it's not
no,
Kingsbury,
but I've just driven past it, and it ain't a million miles away. But
no, it isn't, that's right, but it's not related to any in this particular area, actually.
Were many, I mean, that's named after that village, were many named after their locale?
I think they were, and also... To start with, a lot of them were named after the person who found them, if they were seedlings that they found.
Right, I mean, does this magical tree behind us come from the island of Jersey, for instance?
No way, no.
It's not that.
The Jersey apples are very different.
Right.
They're much more like the French ones.
I wonder why he got that name. So you're just here promoting the whole idea of cider and the culture that goes behind it.
Yeah, and making sure that these old varieties still exist as well.
Well, you mentioned that, and we're standing in an orchard at the moment where there's a bloke 100 yards away chopping hell out of some of the trees because what's happening?
The mistletoe's got into a lot of them, and the trees it's quite a sort of greedily planted orchard, so a lot of the trees are too close together, so they've been going up and up and up, and it's so hard to maintain them when the mistletoe gets in, so he's taken the tops out of a lot of them.
So the rest of the world, most of my readers think, ooh, mistletoe, how romantic and all the rest of it, but total disaster for trees.
And most of it doesn't even have berries on it. It's only a proportion of it, isn't it? Yeah.
What does it do to the trees, Les?
Well, it's a parasite which actually gets into the flowing system, if you like, of the tree. So it blocks the flow system. But while it's doing that, it's actually sucking the juices out of the tree to live on, because it's only got a limited amount of chlorophyll greenness in it.
Yeah.
It's a proper parasite.
I made a film once in Normandy about the cider making there, and back then it was like illegal if you had
absolutely.
The local government could come fine you for having mistletoe.
Yeah, we never got to that stage, fortunately. I suppose because most people don't think that cider apple trees are that important.
They do in Normandy.
They certainly do in this part of the world.
Yeah.
But no, I think another thing is we're actually on the path of a lot of migrating birds, literally. So they probably propagate it, pass it on by eating the seeds and eating the fruit rather, and then planting the seeds.
Right.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where it's sort of infecting new wood as well, whereas usually you see it in old trees, but there's so much of it around the area now. It's
I can see an orchard through there. There's tons of it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kisses at Christmas. Hang on, let's start that again. You've been searching for the legendary
Lambrook Pippin, which is on the list as being an exceptionally wonderful variety. But we've been sending things for DNA analysis and coming back with the wrong name. No, it's not Lambrook Pippin. Go and have another look.
So hang on. So for my readers, this is possible nowadays. You can send what to a laboratory and they come back with what?
Yes, it's been set up by a research station in Kent. Because they still can get DNA done on apples. So what we do is you have to pay for it, but you send a few leaves to them and they do all the analysis and they come back with a name which they have compared with trees that are in the National Fruit Collection. So anything that's in the National Fruit Collection, if your sample of leaves matches it, they've got a name for you.
So they have got a Lambrook Pippin that they can match it against?
They haven't. But they
how can they tell you that it is or isn't there?
Because they have a thing which is called improved Lambrook Pippin.
Right.
And all the ones that we send up, which are different from what we think they should be, come back as improved Lambrook Pippin. So where's the original Lambrook Pippin?
We can also look at relationships about like parentage and things like that as well. So we've got records that say it was one of the parents of another local variety called Porter's Perfection, along with Kappa Liberty. So we know we haven't got it because we haven't got anything that fits that match.
And it's a local tree. Is Lambrook a place around here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And so it's an indigenous sort of tree. Yeah. And you're on a huge detective hunt to find it.
Still trying to find it. We keep finding other things in the meantime. But still looking for that after, I think we're about 7 years in now. We found 3 trees in this orchard which we thought were a lost variety called Churchill. Which we don't really know a lot about, but it's disappeared. Then Julian Temperley took us to 2 trees that he thought was Churchill as well, and we've just DNA'd them all together, and they've come up with a match. So this orchard matches those.
We can name it properly now and get it registered as a local variety.
And can you, I'm so ignorant on these things, take cuttings or whatever and grow new trees?
That's what Tim does.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Well.
Yeah, and then try and make sure it's around some nurseries to preserve it.
All this talk of cider was making us thirsty and actually hungry, so it was time for lunch. which meant we drove a mile or so down the road right into the centre of Kingsbury Episcopi, where we found ourselves walking across a paddock to a rather beautiful wooden cabin.
So I'm Decca Lang, and I live just across the moor from my family farm in Kingsbury Episcopi.
Yeah.
In another home farm, which is very similar to where I grew up, which was also a home farm. And it's a work in progress of renovation. It's a very traditional Somerset farmhouse. So we built a cabin. If you walk through our orchard, which is at the back of our house, down onto a paddock, which looks over Westmoor in Kingsbury Episcopi. We're on the very edge of the village. And we thought it was a pretty great spot to look out and watch the sunset. And from that idea, we developed the idea and a business plan, perhaps, to build a guest cabin. But I really wanted it to showcase what happens in this part of Somerset.
Because there aren't, very many places to stay in the Levels.
No,
this is
not
classified
really.
as the Levels. So, and I'm looking out the window over your shoulder right now, and I'm looking out over a rolling, flattish landscape up to the place where your dad's farms and
so
so
the view out from here is west facing, looking directly across Westmoor, which is on the very, very southern tip of the sort of South Somerset Levels, overlooking to the other ridge in the distance, which is Curry Rival, which is where I grew up, and my family still farm there now, and it gets the sunset. And
you've designed the chalet, the cabin, to have this wonderful veranda out the front, which faces all that. I'm looking at a lovely wooden rocking chair.
Well, there's a little bit of an inspiration behind the wraparound veranda and the rocking chairs. It's sort of based on a Somerset cattle shed, loosely, but also there might be a hint of Dolly Parton's Tennessee Mountain Home, which my husband's a huge fan of country music.
Okay, so you got your planning permission because you thought, hang on, there's not very many places to stay. We could put something in our orchard.
Yeah, it was that, but also I really wanted to shine a light on all the makers and craftsmen and artists that are in this part of Somerset.
Because part of your job is as an interior designer.
Yeah, that, but also there's an authenticity to this area of Somerset that lots of people don't really understand. Other parts of Somerset have got quite a lot of press recently. We mentioned Bruton, and it all becomes quite trendy, and sort of people think that all these new things have just sprung up and things have only just started happening in Somerset. But I beg to differ. They've always been going on. It's always been a creative haven. There's always been an independent spirit, and there's always been quite interesting things going on, and wonderful artists and makers and creators. Lots of those artists and crafts are born out of necessity, like pottery, woodwork, blacksmithing. They were part of the agricultural, rural fabric of everyday life, which we don't need so much every day nowadays in modern day living. But they're still happening, and there's still brilliant craftsmen using traditional methods, making things with hand, with care, with love, and it's sort of looking away from the trends and the fads, and sort of having a little bit of honesty and authenticity about it, and letting people experience it and explore it, and let them know that it's here and always has been.
Okay, so this cabin is stuff full of that authenticity.
And I'm very lucky that lots of them are my friends from everything. I mean, if we start outside, fire pit, that's made by Nick Ostromoff, who is in the next door village in Muchenley at Muchenley Forge. So he knocked that one up for me with the tripod for lots of outdoor cooking. Bertie Clark, he made the table and the bench out of oak, which was felled on my family farm. He is a local woodworker from Bower Hinton, outside Martock. So, I mean, really, we're talking a matter of miles, under 1 mile. He also helped build the kitchen and all the shelving that we have inside the cabin, also using local timber. Where else can we go? Lampshades. Willows, we call them on these parts. I mean, 100 years ago, if you looked out the window here, you'd see
withies
beds and beds and beds of withies growing. So it's a nod to that history that we've got here.
So basically, you've built the cabin, you've got it furnished beautifully with these wonderful artisan-made bits and bobs.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. We're sitting in it. We've just had a lovely lunch. It's a chilly January day, but you've got a wood burner, and it's so it's 365 days of the year.
Yeah. It's really cosy.
anyone
Like I
can
said
come
before,
here
it's
and-
much more. It's
So
much
people-
warmer than my house.
People
My
can look
unheated
at your
Somerset farmhouse.
website and...
So the Craftsman's it's Craftsman's Cabin, www.craftsmanscabin.co.uk, and you can book it. You can have a look at all the lovely images.
Do people come for like a week or a couple of days? What's
Anything
the thing?
from 2 to 7 days we've had.
Okay.
So I'd say the average is 3 nights.
Okay.
Lots of people come with plans to go here, there and everywhere and sort of go down to the coast or go to Glastonbury, but lots of people end up just staying put.
Yeah.
Not going too far.
Yeah.
Wandering around the moors, walking down to the pub and then stumbling home again.
So
Wander home
people,
again.
and the feedback you're getting is people like celebrating the area. They get it.
Yeah, they get it. I think lots of people didn't really know this area that well before. They hadn't really noticed that there was things to come and do here. But I think mainly most people just enjoyed the peace and quiet and the view. It's sort of a step out of most people's busy, frenetic lives, and they can sort of step out and come onto sort of Somerset time a bit here.
Excellent.
Next up, it was the local history group, and what a dynamic lot they are in Kingsbury Episcopi. We met Helen Oldhouse and Adrian Wills. We're sitting in a wonderful outdoor office with an amazing array of computer screens and artefacts within the view of a very beautiful church. I mean, where are we and why have I come to see you?
So this is one of the homes of the Kingsbury Time Travellers, and the Kingsbury Time Travellers is a local history group. It's an incredible place, isn't it?
We archive the history of the parish, the culture, the families, the withies and the cider making and the gloving and all the other things that make up the culture of the parish. So
Because indeed, I mean, you just have given us a very short list there. I mean, quite an incredible place as far as parishes go. It's got a hell of a story, including its rather peculiar name.
And it's because the parish belongs to the Diocese of Bath and Wells. It's not belonging to the Much-on-the Abbey, which is just up the road. So Episcopi was added because it means belonging to the bishop.
Oh, right.
So just behind us here,
Yeah.
there are archaeological remains of a 9th century, 10th century, well, it would have been called a palace, right?
Wow.
A bishop's palace. So this is before the church is created. And it's an ongoing story. We have in the garden dug up here pieces of Romanesque masonry. So before the Normans get here, there's something here. So it's an unfolding story which you never get to the bottom of.
Is that because it was parked right next to what was an inland sea?
Well, there you go. This is a story. We're just about to do an event about the River Parrett. And the River Parrett, it was 100 metres down the road. It's part of our DNA. It's the artery out into the Mediterranean. It's an intriguing little piece of land, and it's also just there on the boundary between the civilised and not so civilised worlds.
The rest of England, the shires of England and the heathens of the West Country.
Well, further on down. With all of this work, it's all really about community engagement and just doing things with people, whether it's to do with cider apples, whether it's to do with withies, whether it's to do with the milk. Part of the culture of this area was the cows. What's the relationship between this place and Ham Hill? What's the relationship between this place and other hills around here? So it's an ongoing kind of story of people getting involved. And when people get involved, you do have the possibilities of making wonderful friendships and networks of people and uncovering more.
Just uncovering what people have got in their attics and talking to people and uncovering fairly recent history, but going back and back and back. I mean, the Parrett was an ancient boundary for the Saxon Shire. So, we've got Alfred just up the road in the marshes. So there are definitely Saxon roots. And before that, there's Roman remains everywhere around here.
For me, it's about engaging with people and opening your mind up to people to work with.
But even so, at the beginning of the chat, you were mentioning a quick list of lovers, cider. I mean, there's a lot of things were happening here. I mean, where I live, it was sheep farming, and then
and then iron mining.
We had sheep farming here as well.
Well, I'm sure you did. But
people are deriving their income streams from 3, 4, 5 different sources. And that's what I think is intriguing, is you have a kind of a culture, an economic culture, which is I get a bit over here and a bit from over here and something from here. And as a result, it's a very rich, creative. I also love the idea that you pick up on this bloody-mindedness of the Somerset tradition, if you like, which is like the background. If you imagine what was wreaked in havoc after the Battle of Sedgemoor in the county,
yeah,
and you imagine those strains, you don't get. We were down in Taunton wasn't it, a little while ago, and they were advertising the new exhibition in the museum.
Yes.
And they had placed a poster in Taunton about Judge Jeffreys and the Battle of Sedgemoor, and somebody put all this graffiti over it. So here you are, hundreds of years later, never forgiven.
So, yes.
And it's an attitudinal thing.
So in 2025, people were still defacing Judge Jeffreys and putting his eyes out. Much hated by people.
Well, he was a nasty piece of work, wasn't he? I'm sort of with them, actually.
That's right.
But to go from the hanging judge then to more things more pleasant, your walks. Let's
walks.
let's talk about them. You've got a network of footpaths like everywhere else, but you've put together.
Oh, this is a whole community thing.
Well, if you walk through along any of our footpaths, they go either very close to or through the orchards.
And then when the wind blows, it's just like confetti pouring down. So you see pictures over in Japan and the Japanese cherry blossoms.
Yeah.
Come here, and there's at least 2 smells which stick in your mind, which is obviously apple blossoms, but also withy boilers. So if the withy boilers have gone, but part of the DNA of this parish is the smell of withy boilers.
Wow.
And that's the other thing we
probably wasn't quite so pleasant to smell, but
it's beautiful.
Is it?
Yeah, if you ever
it's
smell
not like
withies,
a load of old coal burning.
No. If you go up to Coates, great supporters of our work, if you go to Coates when they're boiling withies, it's soporific. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, right, I must try that. I was told that the mainline train used to slow down when it passed through Somerset during apple blossom time, so people on board could get the smell of the apple blossom. But that might be a PR's dream.
Yeah. The apple blossom trails are just one way which we can make a contribution as a little local history group working in the community with people to say, hey, what's on your doorstep you often ignore, but if you walk around it and have a look, and then through the various apps and the QR codes which take you into the history, learn a bit more about where you live. And that would be the concept, wasn't it? Is if you understand where you live, its heritage, there is the possibility you'll be a little bit more careful of it and you'll pay more attention to it.
Adrian is absolutely right. But we were running out of steam, and so we needed a refreshing drink. Where else could we go but the village pub?
My name is Willow Reed, and I'm the landlady of the Wyndham Arms.
This pub, how long have you been here?
I've been here for coming up to 3 years in May.
Have you? And some of the readers of the Western Morning News, Western Eddie Press may have heard of you before because you had pubs elsewhere.
I have indeed. I've run since 2008 the cider pub in Taunton, the Plough Inn, down by the railway station.
Which was Britain's Cider Pub of the Year?
In 2013 it was.
A title I've heard through the grapevine that you're hoping to win back.
Well, hopefully, yes. Being in the heart of cider country, that's very much my target.
It's part of your ambition.
Well, I love celebrating cider, and yes, I have for many, many years now.
Yeah, so then Taunton, and then you went and did other things. I think there's a family thing that you had to see to.
Yes, and then I went off and lived on an island in Belize. And then when I got back, I started a pub in Bristol, which is still there.
Oh, really?
Yes, the Dark Horse in Bristol.
Are you a dark horse, or is that?
I am a dark horse. No one really. Yes, I think I might be.
Okay. And then 3 years ago, you came to the wild and woolly Somerset Levels.
West. I did. I'd previously been up to the cider farm 2011, I think, because I was selling the cider in Taunton. We were invited to Apple Day there, which was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And I went for a few years, and I'd always dreamed of being somewhere around here. And when I found this pub for sale,
It was sort of written in the stars.
So it's absolute no choice. You had to go for it.
Had to go for it, and here we are.
And are you enjoying it?
I'm absolutely loving it. I've refurbished the whole pub. Well, not refurbished, what's the word? Restored the whole pub.
So if I come in here 10 years ago, what would this...
Well, I controversially moved the bar from the middle room over there.
Okay.
But in doing that, I found incredible old floors that are wavy and 400 years old.
People talk about pubs with character, and like you walk through that door... Actually, this pub's got more character than what you think it's going to have from the outside.
Right.
And you come through the door and it's got, like, character. You're getting 10 out of 10
well,
plus.
I found a lot of the character because it was all hidden behind sort of 80s and 90s refits.
Really?
Yeah, so I just had to peel it back and correct it a bit.
Sometimes when someone younger and dynamic takes over a pub in the countryside and thinks the locals can think, oh my god, what's she going to do with it? Is it all going to get trendy or whatever? I mean,
there was a great start with that. Everybody thought I was going to be a gastro pub, and then they were upset that I wasn't doing food, and often, there's been an interesting period of settling in. Yes, no, it's fantastic. I've settled in, and everybody that comes in the pub is fantastic. I have a wonderful, wonderful crowd here. It's great.
Fantastic. So it's a real community pub, apart from anything else.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you've got more than one cider up there on the back
Just a
wall.
few, yes. I have, I think, about 20 local ciders, all Somerset ciders.
Indeed, one of the cider makers is sitting just a few feet away, who I interviewed earlier. So his cider does well. I take
They
it.
all do very well. Yes, people who like to come here we have a flight of cider where you can come and taste different ones back to back and in thirds, rather than having people drinking 3 pints.
You can do that. It's such a good idea. They'll just get completely pissed.
Yes. Yeah, and I just like to support, I always think the errant sons of farmers become the cider makers.
The errant sons of farmers. Well, it could be James
It's sort of
Crowder.
side hustle, isn't it? Yeah. And those are always people that I like, I like that sort of crowd. So I like an old-fashioned, a real proper pub. And there are very few left. And
you only have to spend a couple of hours here, like I've done today, 3 or 4 hours, to think, hang on, this is a very special
I think so.
village. I mean, you've worked in different places, including islands off Belize. But this is something special about this place.
Something wonderful. I know. Call me a hippie, but I think it's the Somerset ley lines.
I've heard that more than once today.
There's something in the air. Plus, my name is Willow Reed, and that's literally what's grown around here.
That
it's so
guy
bonkers.
there, is he related to you?
Yeah.
Okay. That's Oliver Reed, because they can't see it.
That is Oliver Reed. But the more famous chap is on the left. It's his grandfather, who is Herbert Beerbone Tree, who was one of Hollywood, a great English actor back in the day. Yeah. And that's the grandfather of Oliver.
Say his name again.
Sir Herbert Beerbone Tree.
Right.
And that's my great grandfather.
That's a good name,
isn't it?
Hey, look, brilliant. I mean, I don't know what else we can say, except it's a lovely place, and thank you for having us in before time.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, we just encourage everyone to come out to pubs again.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thanks for that.
Some places are special. It's a fact of life, but one that is difficult to prove, because often you can't put your finger on exactly why a certain place might be exceptional. However, we all come across locations which somehow boast an extra pizzazz, and I reckon there ought to be some kind of British listing of such places. Well, Kingsbury Episcopi would be very high on that list. Next week we'll be off on another adventure in journalism. Please do join us then.